Quite possibly the best way to know what a country stands for and truly values is to look at what that country celebrates with a parade. A parade is not just an event, it's a statement. People line the streets and salute what they consider meaningful and celebratory. A parade reveals, almost more than anything else in the entire country, the core of a country's culture and priorities. In America, for example, the largest and most iconic parade by far is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Each year, 3.5 million people crowd the streets of New York City, with another 50 million people watching from their homes. It is, without a question, a defining symbol of American culture. What exactly does it celebrate? Is it celebrating gratitude? Is it celebrating thankfulness? Is it celebrating community? No, it celebrates shopping. It celebrates Macy's, consumerism, materialism. Millions of people gather to watch a 4-story inflatable SpongeBob and a towering Macy's shopping bag float down 6th Avenue. It's one gigantic spectacle glorifying consumerism, because in America, shopping is more than a necessity. It's an end unto itself. Take sports, for example. Sports are another cultural cornerstone. When a team wins a Super Bowl, or a World Series, or a Stanley Cup, the streets fill with victory parades and cities shut down, and people celebrate as if their personal identities hinge on their team's victory, because America is obsessed with sports and competition and idealization of athletes. Another parade happens on the first Monday in September every year. The United States and Canada have a Labor Day parade. Labor Day parades are a celebration of work, of labor, because in those societies, success is measured by economic productivity and wealth. Money isn't just a means to an end. It is the end. It's the very measuring rod used to determine if your life is well lived. Other countries' parades are all equally revealing. In Russia, the annual Victory Day parade, which takes place on May 9th, is a grand military display with tanks and with missile launchers and with fighter jets rolling through the streets. It's just one big show of strength, a nationalistic flex of Russia's muscles and Russia's tremendous pride in its military power. Or take Japan. In Japan's Akihabara district, tens of thousands of people every year dress up as their favorite anime and video game characters, parading through Tokyo. Because Japan is obsessed with pop culture and fantasy and cartoons. And then there's Thailand's Monkey Parade, and Belgium's Duck Parade, and France's Snail Parade, and Japan's Snake Parade, and British Columbia's Bathtub Parade, and Nova Scotia's Pumpkin Parade. The list goes on. Each country's parade offers a glimpse into their heart, into what they consider important and meaningful. Parades are more than celebrations. They are cultural mirrors reflecting the values and the passions and oftentimes the ridiculous quirks of the societies that hold them. In many cases, they are far more revealing about a country's true spirit than any constitution or legal code ever would. Jews, on the other hand, don't have parades for shopping. We don't flood the streets for military displays or sports championships or cartoon characters. We don't march for shopping sales or movie stars or celebrity idols. Believe it or not, Jews put on a parade for only one thing. Jews parade for fruit. The only real parade the Jewish people ever held was the yearly Bikurim parade. Every year when we brought our Bikurim, our first fruits of our crop to Yerushalayim, we didn't just walk into the city and find a Kayan's house and drop it off at his doorstep and leave. We danced our way to Yerushalayim in a full-blown, joyous procession. Oxen led the way, their horns covered in gold. Musicians played music. People carried their beautifully decorated baskets, overflowing with the best fruits of their harvest. Huge crowds of people would dance. People would sing. It was an outpour of joy. The question is why? Why did Bikurim, of all things, warrant such a massive parade of happiness and joy? We don't parade when we bring Meiser Sheni to Yerushalayim. On the first night of Pesach, we don't break into the streets parading matzah. We don't march with inflatable sukkahs to showcase our happiness on sukkahs. So what is it about fruit that makes it so special? What makes this mitzvah more than any other mitzvah worthy of such an explosion of public joy? I believe the answer is found in Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat is strange. We know it's a day about fruit. Beyond that, we don't know much. Every year people rush into the grocery store, which for a week looks more like a dried fruit museum, and we load up on exotic-looking, barely recognizable fruit in every possible color, shape, and texture. What exactly are we celebrating? Yeah, Tu B'Shvat has some technical calendar significance marking the cutoff date for counting the Arla years of a tree and Meiser. Is that really what we're celebrating? Are people really filling their carts with dried figs and guava rounds because of some agricultural tax deadline? Obviously not. There's got to be something deeper. The problem is that when you try to understand Tu B'Shvat, you often get sucked into some mystical Kabbalistic teachings that are so abstract. They stay stuck in the realm of the intellectual and the esoteric, and they seem profound, but they often leave you with nothing but half-baked inspiration and some vague sense that something meaningful is happening, but you're not sure what. There has to be a simple, tangible reason for the happiness of Tu B'Shvat. And the question is, what is it? The answer is that fruit, at first glance, might seem like it's just like every other category of food, but the truth is it's not. It's drastically different. When you put all the foods we eat into categories, they pretty much all seem to be the same. There are grains, there are vegetables, there's fruit, meat, fungi, legumes, dairy products. There doesn't appear to be any spiritual significance in one category more than the other. They all seem to be just different sections on God's menu. But that's a mistake. Not all food were created equal. One category rises above the rest when it comes to spiritual potential, and that is fruit. The difference is in their purpose. Vegetables, legumes, grains exist to sustain us. Hashem put them in this world to make sure that we have what to eat to survive. They are packed with nutrients and minerals and essential fats, and without them, we become malnourished and weak and we die. Fruit, you can live your entire life without ever eating a single fruit and be perfectly healthy. So why do they exist? Because Hashem put them here to nourish, not our bodies, He put them here to nourish our souls. Fruit are a kiss from Hashem, a completely unnecessary, extravagant, beautiful, and delicious gift placed in the world for no other reason than to bring us closer to Him. And because their purpose is different, their nature is different. Look at vegetables and grains. They're often dull. They're brown, green, pale. Think potatoes, onions, wheat, barley, celery, lettuce, spinach, turnips. That's because there's no need for Hashem to make them beautiful. We have to eat them anyway. Our hunger will make sure that we find them and we eat them. Fruit, on the other hand, they explode with color. Blueberries and apples and cherries and oranges and passion fruits and grape. Hashem made them vibrant because if they weren't, maybe we wouldn't bother with them. And that would be a tragedy because their entire purpose is to bring us closer to Him. It's the same with taste. Vegetables are often bland. They need salt, they need oil, they need spices. Fruits are perfect, straight off the tree. Why? Because it's a kiss from Hashem, and Hashem is perfect. It's the same way with where they grow. Vegetables are buried in the ground, and they're hiding in the dirt. They require plowing and sowing and planting and effort. Fruits grow from trees at eye level, easy to reach, just waiting there to be taken. There's no planting, there's no sowing, there's no toiling. You just wake up and you pluck a peach off the tree. Vegetables, you got to cook them to be edible. Fruits, they're almost always eaten exactly as they grow. Vegetables have no scent. Fruits fill the air with fragrance. Vegetables, you got to replant every year. A fruit tree, you plant it once, it keeps producing forever. Precisely because of the different roles fruits and vegetables play in our lives, do they have drastically different characteristics. Because while grains and vegetables exist to sustain our bodies, fruits exist to direct our hearts towards Hashem. Their very presence calls our attention heavenward, reminding us that we're not just here to survive, we're here to see Hashem, to experience His kindness and to come closer to Him. And the closer we are to Him, the more He wants to shower us with bracha and with shefa, which at the end of the day is the very reason He made the world in the first place. It's precisely because of this concept. But the very last Gemara in the Yerushalmi and Kedushin says something seemingly bizarre. It says, "Asir adam litain din v'cheshbon al kol ma sherasa einav v'lo yachal." When a person dies and he ascends to the heavenly court, and they're going to be shown all the foods of the world, and they're going to be asked, "Why did you not taste this? Why did you not try that?" When we go up to Shemayim, we're going to be held accountable for all the natural foods our eyes laid sight on, and we didn't try. Now, at first glance, it seems odd. Why in the world would we be held accountable for such a thing? The Torah wants us to go out of our way and try different types of natural foods. Is Hashem really keeping a checklist of who ate papaya and who passed up the pomelo section of the grocery store? The Torah really wants us to go on some culinary exploration? Doesn't that fly in the face of the mandate in Pirkei Avos, Perek Vav, Mishnah Dalet, that says, "Pas b'melach teichal b'mayim b'misura tishta," that the proper way to live as a Jew is by eating the bare minimum and focusing on spiritual pursuits over physical indulgence. How does this make any sense? The answer is that this is not about physical indulgence at all. In fact, it's probably as spiritual as it gets. The Torah isn't telling us to become foodies and go chase culinary experiences. This is about physical awareness. The Torah encourages us to try the diverse foods Hashem created because they were made for one reason and one reason only, to deepen our appreciation and love for Hashem. That's why they're in the world in the first place. Hashem handcrafted a world bursting with diversity and beauty and flavor for one reason alone, so that we would see Him through it. Every cherry, every kiwi, every gooseberry, every rambutan, every mango was created to be tasted and savored and used as a means to feel Hashem's presence and magnify our appreciation of His endless kindness. Each bite that we take, we deepen our awareness of Hashem and the magnificence of the world that He created. The people that pass through life without pausing to marvel at the wondrous foods that Hashem placed before us are sort of, in essence, overlooking the very tools He gave us to awaken a greater love and connection to Him. The Torah isn't telling us to chase physicality. It's telling us to hunt down spirituality hidden within the natural world. Fruit represents Hashem's deep and burning desire to bestow goodness and love on us. We don't just grow our fruit and dig in. We celebrate it. We gather our fruits with joy, parading through the land, dancing our way to Yerushalayim, singing praises to the one above, not because other mitzvahs don't bring happiness, but because fruit was specifically designed to make us dance, to awaken us to Hashem's love. That's their entire purpose. The mitzvah of Bikurim isn't just about bringing a fruit offering. It's about recognizing and reciprocating Hashem's kindness. Fruit is the ultimate symbol of Hashem hugging us. Bikurim is us hugging Him back. Now, contrary to what you were taught in kindergarten, Tu B'Shvat isn't merely a birthday party for fruit trees. It's not about indulging in a fruit platter just to satisfy some esoteric concept or to keep your Hasidic in-laws happy. Tu B'Shvat is the ultimate day when fruit begins to grow again, and it's signaling that Hashem's love for us is renewing itself. It's a reminder that even in the depths of winter, when everything outside seems so cold and lifeless, Hashem's kindness is already in motion, preparing to shower us with goodness once more. Tu B'Shvat isn't a celebration of fruit. It's the celebration of Hashem's love symbolized by the fruit. It's a day we take the single most tangible expression of Hashem's kindness and we taste it and we savor it and we allow it to fill us not just with flavor, but with deep spiritual joy. Now, this concept clarifies a pretty peculiar statement found in a Gemara in Brachos Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis. The Gemara over there says, anybody that steals, anybody that is nenem in ha'olam hazeh, b'loi bracha, anyone who derives benefit in this world from something without making a bracha, it's as if you stole from Hashem. Now, the question is so obvious, it pretty much asks itself. What does it mean you stole from Hashem? You stole what from Hashem? Hashem is perfect. He lacks nothing. What could a human possibly take from Him? Does Hashem need our brachos? We're a bunch of ants. He is perfect with or without our brachos. What does this Gemara mean? So Rabbi Yaakov Reikeach in his Sefer Pri Eitz Hadar says something powerful. He says there is one thing we know for sure that Hashem wants, and that is to shower goodness on the world. That's the whole reason He created the world in the first place. The greatest way to receive Hashem's shefa and divine goodness is by getting closer to Him. The closer you get to Hashem, the more shefa and bracha is released into the world. This is where brachos come in. A bracha is not merely some ritualistic recitation. It's a tool to elevate the act of eating. It's there purely to ensure that the food we eat connects us to Hashem as opposed to distancing us from Him. So when you make a bracha and you acknowledge Hashem's kindness and eat with the intention of coming closer to Him, you unlock the shefa hidden within that food, bringing more divine goodness into the world. But when someone eats without making a bracha, they block that flow. They deny the world the blessing Hashem intended to release. That is the true meaning of stealing from Hashem. Not that Hashem is lacking anything, but that we have withheld the divine goodness He intended to channel into the world through that food by neglecting to say a bracha and by not using the food to get close to Hashem the way it was meant to. We disrupt the flow of shefa that was meant to be unleashed into the world. Hashem designed food as a means to draw us closer to Him, and when we eat with the proper mindset and gratitude, we unlock the spiritual connection, allowing us bless his blessings to pour into the world. But when we don't, all we are a bunch of thieves. It's very simple. Shefa comes when we draw close to Hashem. Fruit exists to bring us closer to Him. Brachos make sure that they actually do. Now, this idea sheds light on another seemingly odd Gemara found in Sanhedrin Yud Zayin Amud Beis. The Gemara there outlines the essential elements a city must have for a Talmid Chacham to live there. A Talmid Chacham can't just pick a city at random and plop himself down. There has to be certain things in that city to make it worthy enough for the Talmid Chacham's presence. The list contains exactly what you'd expect to. A shul, a bathhouse, a doctor, a sheikhet, a school, a proper infrastructure. But then at the very end of the list, Rabbi Akiva throws in one more surprising statement. Amar Mishum Rabbi Akiva. Af mine peiros. One should not live in a city that does not have fruit trees. So at first glance, it seems a little random. What's wrong with a city that doesn't have fruit trees? So the Gemara explains that because they illuminate the eyes. So some people take this literally. Fruit, being rich in vitamins A, C, and E, as well as in lutein and zeaxanthin, are good for eyesight. And the Gemara is instructing the Talmid Chacham to live in a place that has easy access to eyesight-improving fruits. Here's the problem. If this were just a health tip, why does the Gemara single out fruit trees? Why doesn't the Gemara insist that the city a Talmid Chacham is moving to have garlic fields to help with his blood pressure and cholesterol, or salmon-filled rivers to help with his brain functionality? Why not require cabbage patches for kidney health and arugula gardens for liver health? If the whole reason was simply to ensure that a Talmid Chacham lives in a place with access to proper nutrition, why prioritize fruit trees over the countless other foods that benefit the body in various ways? So perhaps it's because living near fruit trees isn't about physical eyesight. It's about spiritual vision. Fruit trees sharpen your awareness of Hashem. They are a constant, vibrant reminder of His generosity, of His kindness, of His abundance. Living among fruit trees means living in an environment where Hashem's kindness is in your face. It's unavoidable. A place devoid of fruit trees is a place where that clarity fades, where Hashem's generosity becomes easier to overlook. Rabbi Akiva's message is very clear. If you're serious about Avodas Hashem, choose your surroundings wisely. Plant yourself in a place where Hashem's kindness is undeniable, where His generosity is on full display. Live in a place that feels like an embrace from above, where you can use the very medium of fruit trees designed by Hashem to draw closer to Him and unlock the shefa He longs to bestow upon us, because that is what fruit trees represent. And that is why we celebrate them on Tu B'Shvat, not just because they hold complicated esoteric Kabbalistic significance, but because they embody something even more simple, something far more fundamental, and that is Hashem's love manifest in the physical world. And we make a point to enjoy them because doing so brings us closer to Him, and in turn brings Him closer to us. Now listen to this story. The Rebbe Rashab, Reb Shalom Doiv Ber Schneerson, the fifth Rebbe of Lubavitch, he lived from 1860 to 1920. He once found himself sitting on a train on Tu B'Shvat. He was deep in the frozen wastelands of northern Russia, and there was snow and ice stretched literally in every direction, and there's not a tree and not a bush, and there's nothing but complete desolation. And his Hasidim just sit in silence for hours, and they stare at the endless white void that surrounded them. How will the Rebbe celebrate Tu B'Shvat here, they wondered. Forget fruit, there's not a single sign of life as far as the eye can see. And so they're disheartened by the thought of not having any fruit trees at Tu B'Shvat. They slumped into their seats with their spirits dampened, resigning themselves to the long, multi-day, grueling journey ahead of them. But sensing their concern, the Rebbe turned to them, and with a small smile, he said, "My Tayrach Sidim, don't worry. If we desire fruit strong enough, Hashem will send it." And the Chassidim just sat there and stunned. Here, fruit in northern Russia, in this frozen wasteland, it was impossible. But before they could even grasp the weight of the Rebbe's words, half a minute after the Rebbe said what he said, the train comes to an abrupt stop, and they peer out the window, and they were met with an inexplicable sight. There's a man standing alone in this vast, frozen tundra, where there wasn't so much as a train station in sight, and in his hands he's holding a basket covered by a blanket, and he calmly waits for the doors of the train to open, and he climbs aboard with the train taking off as quickly and abruptly as it stopped. And a moment later, the door of their compartment, it creaks open, and the man steps inside. Without a word, he settles onto the bench directly across from the Rebbe. And he reached for the blanket covering his basket, and he lifted it away, revealing, believe it or not, a basket of fresh oranges. The Chassidim stared at him. In the middle of this frozen wasteland, there's not even there's not a blade of grass. Here sat a man holding a basket of oranges. How could this be, the Chassidim thought? Oranges They grow in warm tropical climates with year-round sunshine, places like Florida and Brazil and Spain. This was northern Russia. Oranges here were about as common as snow in the Sahara Desert. They just sat there. They're in shock, without batting an eyelash. The Rebbe rose, and he walked over to the man, and he purchased the entire basket, and he began distributing the oranges to his astonished Hasidim. And as he's handing each one a fruit with a twinkle in his eye, he says, "My dear Hasidim, remember, Tu B'Shvat is not about the fruit. It's about Hashem's shefa and love within the fruit. If we love Hashem with enough strength, He will love us back and send us fruit, no matter how cold and barren the world around us might seem." That is what we are to think about on Tu B'Shvat. Not just the fruit, but the overwhelming love Hashem has for us and this dazzling, colorful world He created just to bring us closer to Him. Tu B'Shvat is a time to think about who and what we celebrate. What's our appetite in life? What fills us with excitement? Because the rest of the world gathers on sidewalks and street corners and salutes video game characters and military might and sports teams and giant Mickey Mouse floats. Tu B'Shvat is the time to ask yourself, in the game of life, who do you salute?